Hey y'all, welcome back. So, how was your first video? Did you take any questions down that you were still confused by? Um, One of the things that I recommend you do is utilize, I know there's not a lot of space here, but write down any questions you have as we're going through this. If I don't answer them, then shoot me an email. If I do, then your question has been answered. You can always pause the video. You're not stuck just watching me do this in the same timeline. That's the great thing about this is you have a chance to pause me, rewind, and all those things instead of just being in a class where I may not remember what I just said previously, where in this case I'm being recorded. So you can pause me, rewind, check to see if there's something you missed. And then also if there's something you didn't get by the end of the video, ask me the questions. Give me that chance. There's also another opportunity in the forums under the discussions to post your questions there because I guarantee you, if you have that question, others in the class will have it as well. They might not know that they have that question, but they'll have the same question. You're all in the same boat. You're all taking the same class. We're all trying to get through this together. I am just your support person to help you do that. I am not judge and jury, okay, kind of on the exams, but up until the exams, I'm here to make sure that you get it. And if you don't, we need to talk. All right. So write down any questions you have along the way and make sure you get those questions asked so that I can get them answered for you in a timely manner. Let's not wait till the exams. All right. So let's talk about signed numbers and algebraic expressions. And signed numbers. Well, I like to use a number line. A number line, things that you've already remember from kindergarten. Actually, your first numbers you ever learned. If you have children, the first thing you teach them is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, and so on and so on. And we're so excited when they learn 1 through 20. That's the golden one. 1 through 10, then 1 through 10 or 20. But one of the things that we don't teach our kids initially as a parent is the first one is 0. But wait, there's even more before 0. And that's so that we can have a conversation about things that are negative. So there's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. One of the things you'll notice is each of these numbers on either side of 0 are the same distance from 0. 5 and -5 are both 5 away from 0. They're not -5 away from 0, they're 5 away from 0. So one of the things I want you to understand about absolute value is the distance. So therefore, it's always positive. It's the distance a number is away from 0. So if it's -5, it's still 5 away from 0. If it's 5, it is 5 away from 0. It is always positive, no matter what the number is inside the absolute value. Absolute value are two straight lines on either side. They're parallel lines on either side of a number. If that number is -3, the absolute value of -3 is 3 because it's 3 away from 0. If it was 3, then it too is 3 for an answer because the absolute value is always positive. All right. Exponents. And one more thing I want to say about that. Absolute value is treated like parentheses. Now, we're not going to use that part in this video, but in the third video, in the next video you watch, you're going to need to know that because we're going to be talking about order of operations, and you're going to need to know when to utilize the absolute value. All right, so let's talk about exponents. Exponents is the number of times the base, I'll explain it, the base appears as a factor. I'll explain all this to you, I promise. And this has to do with multiplication. In multiplication. Not addition, not subtraction, not division, in multiplication. So if we have a base of 2 and we have an exponent of 4, that means that 2 is multiplied to itself 2, 3, 4 times. Two multiplied to itself 4 times. All right. And 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. All right. That's what exponents, what that means. So let's find the absolute value of these 4 here. Again, I want you to pause the video, attempt it, come back to see how you did. You can do it individually or you can do them all 4 at once, your choice. All right. I really want you to pay attention when we get to these last 2. Be very careful because I can see issues that other students have had in the past, and I want to make sure that you don't have that same issue. Again, this is going to take practice. All right, pause the video, attempt it, and then come back to see how you did. Absolute value of negative 12, it has to be 12 away from 0. Absolute value of 4 has to be 4 away from 0. Now, this is 2 different things happening here. This is negative of the absolute value of 3. It is not the absolute value of negative 3, not the same thing. So what this means is it's negative of whatever comes out of the absolute value. All right, the absolute value of 3 is 3. So your answer is negative 3. Be careful. Be careful with that. The next one is up here where I said treat like parentheses. You have to do what's inside the parentheses first, what's inside the absolute value first. Do not do the absolute value of 5 plus the absolute value of 2. That's not what this is. It would have their own absolute values if that were the case. This is the absolute value of the combination of the 2 inside. So this is the same thing as the absolute value. The signs are different. Negative 5 plus 2, when the signs are different, you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 is larger, so it's negative 3. Now, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. Okay, be careful with those. Tricky trick. The next one is our exponential part. That's a big word, exponentiation. Oh, kind of fun. All right, so 6 squared, 2 to the 5th. Go through for each one of these, pause the video, either individually or all at once, attempt these, and then come back to see how you did. If you're using your calculators, as you will for many of these, be careful. Be careful, because if you see parentheses, you better use the parentheses on your calculator. If you do not, it will be wrong most of the time, depending upon what the exponent is, especially if it is, well, it doesn't matter. It's just wrong. I see so many people do this. So pause the video, attempt these, and then come back. If you're going to use your calculator, which is totally cool, I am going to show you how to do it without the calculator and then with. So with the calculator, if you're doing, let's just go up here 2 to the 4th, and you're using the TI-30X2S, your exponent is this cute little, I call it a caret, as most professors do. Sorry, I've got gnats from my plants, and I'm just like, ah. This little guy right here is your exponent. If you happen to use the TI-30XA, that is going to have a x to the y or a y to the x over here by your division. If you're using your phone, which I wished you wouldn't do, you're going to need to use, again, I think it's y to the x or x to the y, and you have to be using your scientific calculator. You can't just use the basic calculator. I don't know if I have mine. I think I've downloaded a calculator since there we go. Okay, so there's a basic calculator. You need to be using a scientific calculator if you're using a calculator on your phone. Remember, you cannot use phones on your exam. So if you're using your scientific on your calculator, you've got to use x to the y for your exponent. All right. So for 2 to the fourth, 2 caret 4 equals. There's no parentheses needed here because 2 is positive. If this was a -2, and I want to cover this real quick before you go do this. So 2 to the fourth would be 2 caret 4 equals, or on your phone, 2 x to the y 4 equals. If it is, I'm just going to come over here. If it is -2 to the fourth, you have to use your calculators, because if you don't, you're going to get a negative answer. Watch this. -2 to the fourth is -16. That's wrong. It's not negative. Parenthesis, -2, parenthesis, close to the fourth is +16. You have to use the parentheses. The last one I want to show you is -2 to the fourth. This one, you can go -2 to the fourth, because it's not -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. It's basically like a -1, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 4 times. All right. So these are all different. This you have to use the parentheses. This one you do not, because the negative is not included to the fourth power. All right, pause the video, go do these, come back to see how you did. So 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36, or you can go 6 caret 2. Caret's going to be x to the y, or your caret, equals 36. 2 to the fifth is the same thing as 2 times itself 5 times, 4, 5, or 2 caret 5, 32. The next one, parentheses matter. Parenthesis, -5 squared. This is the same thing as -5 times -5. And negative times a negative is a positive. That's why the parentheses matter. 5 times 5 is 25. So you have to go parentheses, -5, close your parentheses, caret, 2 equals. Here's the one where you don't use parentheses. This is the same thing as -1 times 5 times 5. So it's going to be -5 times 5 is 25. Again, -5 squared is -25. Parentheses, there is none. Here there are. It matters. If you haven't, pause your video, do these next two. This is the same thing as -3 times -3 times -3 times -3. Negative times negative is a positive, negative, positive. 3 times 3 is 9, 27, 81. -1 to the 99th. Well, it's going to be a 1, but is it positive or negative? So parenthesis, -1, close, caret, 99 equals -1. Go to algebraic expression. Evaluating. So evaluating is when you're plugging in for a given variable. A variable is going to be a letter or of some sort. So evaluating is not solving. It's not the same thing. So many people trying to solve when it's just evaluating. Evaluating, there's no equal signs. So you're not solving. You plug in given variables, plug in the number for the variable, and simplify. So if you're going to evaluate for x plus 6, here's an example. Evaluate for x plus 6 if x is equal to 2. This is just substitution. That's all this is. I'm saying, okay, I'm giving you x plus 6. What if x happens to be 2? Then you substitute where the x is. Where the x is, you're going to plug in 2. letting 2 substitute for x, and solve. 2 plus 6 is 8. X isn't equal to 8, it's just 8, right? Distributing. Distributing, there's many different ways to think about this, but if you've got A times B plus C, it could be B minus C, but let's just go with plus. This is the same thing as A times B plus, or whatever the sign is, A times C. So many people will go A times B and then just go plus C. No, 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 no. This number is multiplied to both of these. So you've got to multiply it to each one. All right, you multiply it times B plus you multiply it times C. Here's an example with numbers. 7 times, we'll go with x plus 5. 7 times x plus 7 times 5. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 5 is 35. Be careful. If the 35 does not have an x, you cannot combine these numbers. This does not become, I don't know what 35 plus 7 is. 7 plus 30. This does not become 42x. Please don't ever do that. This is the answer. Leave it as such. Do not try to combine things when they are totally different creatures. Okay. Next, combining like terms. We just had this conversation. Let's keep it going. Like means they have the same variable, same exact variable. Or they both don't have a variable. Same concept. They also must have the same exponent with the same exponent. Okay, let's do some examples. If they do have the same variable and the same exponent, you can add or subtract the coefficients, the numbers in front of them. So you add, if they do, you add or subtract, whatever the sign tells you to do, the coefficients. And I'm going to tell you what coefficient means because you're going to hear about coefficients the rest of this semester, as well as when you move forward in the next class. Coefficient means the number in front, and I'm just going to use of x. It could be any variable of number in front of variable. How's that? All right. So it's add or subtract the number, add or subtract the coefficients, and keep the same shared variable. And keep the same shared variable, including the exponent. Okay. Here's an example. If you combine like terms, combine like terms. If you have 2x plus 3y minus 4x plus 3y squared plus 2. Okay, say you have that. You can only combine 2 terms here. Each one of these is a term, including the 2. We've got 2x and negative 4x. There's no other x's. So we can combine their coefficients, the numbers in front of them. 2 minus 4. The signs are different, so you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. 2 minus 4 is negative 2x. 3y, there's only one y. This one's a y squared, so plus 3y squared plus 2. That is the answer. That is combining like terms. You can't combine these. This y only has 1 for an exponent. If there's nothing there, it's always a 1. It's never 0. This one has 2 for an exponent. You can't combine them. They're not the same things. This one doesn't have any variable, so it's just hanging out there as well. These are the only 2 you can combine. All right. The last definition here is translating expressions. So there's certain words that mean mathematical terms. When you're supposed to add something, the terms you may see are plus, combine, sum, S-U-M, more than, increased by, more than, increased by. For subtract, when do you subtract? Well, the words to look for subtract are minus, difference, take away, remove, less than, and decrease. Those all mean subtract. Multiplication is going to be times, multiply, product, and the word of. Of means multiply. Division could be over, quotient, and divided by. And then the last one is equal. To understand what the word equal means, you could have answer, equivalent, or equivalent to, result, gives, and the one used the most is. That one is used the most. So that is a definition piece that you really need to have in your tool belt for your math. Okay. Evaluate the expression for x equals 3 and y equals -4. So this is back up here with the evaluation piece that I was talking about, where you're just substituting. I want you to pause the video using where x is equal to 3 and y is equal to -4. I want you to do these on an individual basis. Do the first one, pause the video, do the first one, come back to see how you did. Pause the video, do the second one, come back to see how you did. And then the last one, please attempt it. Don't just watch me do it. That's not when you learn. Give yourself a chance to make a mistake. Don't be freaking afraid of that. It's okay. This is how you learn. I promise you. I'm not trying to punish you. So pause the video and then come back. All right, 6x. When a number and the variable are right next to each other, that's multiplication. There's no plus sign in between them. There's no subtraction sign in between them. There's no division sign. When they are right smack dab together, that means 6 is multiplied to x. So I'm going to substitute where my x is and put my 3, because that's what I'm saying 3, the x is represented by. 6 times 3 is 18. The next one is, pause, come back, 2y plus 7. So 2 times y plus 7. That y is being represented by -4. Now, we haven't done order of operations yet. However, you need to know that multiplication comes before addition. 2 times -4. The signs are different, so you positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 7. The signs are different, so you subtract. 8 minus 7 is 1, and keep the sign of the larger number. Okay. You can also put this all in your calculator, but the more steps you show me, the more chance I have of giving you partial credit on an exam. I know some people don't like to show work. You want to just throw out an answer. That makes my grading so much easier, but I can't give you partial credit on that because I'm not going to assume. The last one, pause, attempt this, and then come back. So 6 times x plus 8 over 3 times x minus y. All right, where the x is, I'm putting 3. Where the y is, I'm putting -4. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 8. 3 times 3 is 9 minus -4. Negative times a negative is a positive 4. This is the same thing as like having a 1 on the outside. It changes the sign. 18 plus 8 is 26. 9 plus 4 is 13. These will reduce. 13 goes into both of them. So you're going to divide both by 13. 26 divided by 13 is 2. 13 divided by 13 is 1. The other way to do this is just to check it. Does 26 divide by 13? Yeah, the answer is 2. If it does, you always have to, when you get to this point here, check to see if they will divide. If not, check to see if they'll reduce. Those are your two options there. But you have to divide it. Or if they don't divide, or if they don't reduce, then you put a band around it unless mom wants you to change it to a mixed number. Okay. The next one we're going to talk about is distribution, which was this guy right here. So I want you to pause the video, attempt the distribution for all of these individually or all at once, your choice, and then come back to see how you did. Okay, this is the same thing as 4 times x plus 4 times 3. So this is 4x plus 12. For B, 7 times each one of these. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times positive y is 7y. And 7 times -2, positive times a negative is a negative. 7 times 2 is 14. This can be written another way. It can be written as 4 times 9 minus y. Means the same thing. Whichever way you want to handle it, your call. So 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times -y is -4y. The next one here. This is the same thing as having a -1. If there's not a number there, there's always an assumed 1. You don't have to put a 1 there, but I want you to understand that that's the case. It's not -0 because 0 times anything is 0. So there has to be at least a 1. -1 times 4x is -4x. -1 times -2 is negative times negative is positive 2. All right. Pause the video, attempt this yourself. It's -2 times each one of these terms. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 7 is 14. Don't forget your x. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 4 is 8. And don't forget your y. Write down any questions you have along the way so that I can answer them for you. Next, we're combining like terms, it looks like. Okay. So remember, they have to have the same variable, same exponent. You cannot combine 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 7. That makes me sick. Don't do that. 4x and 3x, 2 and 7. 4 plus 3 is 7x plus 2 plus 7 is 9. Those cannot be combined. The 9 doesn't have an x. Pause the video, attempt these on your own. We've got some mixing of distribution in there as well. So if you feel more comfortable, do one at a time. All right, 2x and 7x. 7 plus 2 is 9x. Negative 3y plus y. The signs are different, so you subtract and take the sign of the larger number, and then plus 4xy. There's no other term that has xy, so that is your answer. The next one is we've got a distribution before we can combine like terms. You cannot combine anything with this to this 8x until we distribute first. Distribution falls under multiplication. So we're going to multiply 5 times both of these terms. Then we're going to combine any like terms. Pause the video if you've not done so. 5 times 3 is 15x. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Bring down your 8x. Combining like terms, 15x and 8x is 23x minus 20. Last one. Please pause the video and attempt this yourself. You've got to distribute for both of those and then combine your like terms. So negative 2 times 4x and negative 2 times negative 6y. Negative times positive is negative. 2 times 4 is 8x. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 6 is 12y. We're going to multiply these. Negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 2 is 8x. Negative times a positive is a negative. 4 times 3 is 12y. All right, combining like terms. Negative 8x minus 8x is negative 16x. The signs are the same. You add and keep the sign. Positive 12y minus 12y, oh, that's 0. So those disappear. There's my answer. Now we're going to translate each English phrase into an algebraic expression or equation. The sum of, sum means whip out your, this means we need to rip out your definitions of what these mean. You're going to need to know these. All right. So I want you to pause the video and attempt these yourself and then come back to see how you did. There's a couple of these I want you to see how I do them. So I want you to still attempt to do it yourself first and then come back to see how I did it. So the sum means addition of a number. So anytime you see the word a number, we're going to use a variable. I can use n for number or x, whatever you want to use. It doesn't matter. And 9. So when you're adding a number and 9, that's n plus 9. If you used x, it should just be x plus 9. Don't change your variable for me. Okay, I want you to attempt this one yourself first. This one's a little bit more difficult. There's a little trick to this one because it has the word more than. Anytime it has the word than, you're going to flip your numbers. These gnats are going to be the death of me. For more than means you're going to go 4 plus. More than. The number plus 4 is what happens. And what anything that comes after that happens in front of it. The quotient means division of a number, n, and 12. So this is n over 12 plus 4. More than means when you see the word than, that means you're going to put the plus sign in front of the 4, and everything that comes after that goes in front of that. So the quotient, division of a number and 12. This one is exactly as it's stated. 6 decreased by twice a number. 2, that means 2 times the number, gives, means equals 4. This is an expression. There's no solving for anything. This one is an equation. We could actually solve this, but we're not going to. We're just going to put a box around it because I just want you to translate. That's all we're doing is translating. So 6 decreased by twice the number, which is 2 times the number. You could put a multiplication sign here if you want to, gives 4. The next one is the product of 9 and a number is 72. product means multiplication. So 9 times a number is 72. Remember, multiplication can be written many ways. So I could also write this as 9n is equal to 72. Or 9 parenthesis n, or 9 dot n. There's so many different ways to write multiplication. All right, twice the sum of a number and 5 is 18. Is always means equals. So twice the sum. So twice the addition of a number and 5. A number and 5 is 18. Not just twice the number, it's twice the sum. So it has to be in parentheses because it's the sum of two numbers is equal to 18. And that's your answer for that one. A little tricky. Okay, that's it for this lecture. I'll see you in order of operations. Let me know what questions you have.